Hi, my name is Lawrence, and I will be demonstrating to you my dashboard to visualize Steam game popularity from 2013 to 2021. So in the top right corner, we see we have a feature to enable night mode. This is primarily for users that have astigmatism and need it for accessibility reasons. Otherwise, we should be viewing this dashboard mainly in dark mode for a uh, better look and feel. Now, I'll be going over each chart here, and then I'll be giving some interesting observations I made while making this dashboard. So in the center, we have our time series chart that displays the total average concurrent players across all Steam games. So we can actually select a value to link and brush and have the values of all the other charts be updated. So I can demonstrate to you that by, let's say we want to select this peak right here. January 2018, you can see the total average concurrent players, the total peak concurrent players at this point in time. We can also see, well, what are the most popular Steam genres, Steam spy genres, and uh, whether single player or multiplayer is more popular. In almost all cases, it's going to be multiplayer. And on the right, we have our bar chart that shows the top 10 games by average concurrent players. And we can hover over each of these bars to see its exact value. And we can actually then select one of these bars by clicking on it. And we can see that the values for the table here and the two time series charts, or the smaller ones down here, are updated. So you can see that as I click through these ones are also updated. Uh, the table is mainly just to view any details such as developer, publisher, any categories it has, and any other attributes one might want to see to gain further insights. And at the bottom, these two bottom smaller time series charts, these are used to view the average concurrent players for the game, for the specific game, and also the peak concurrent players for the game over whatever data is available. Uh, Now for our parallel coordinates plot, we have these numerical variables that we can analyze, and we can also drag them around. We can brush them, and we can do all sorts of analysis through this through brushing. Now, so that's like a general overview of what we can do. Oh, and before I forget, we can also use these options to zoom into specific lapses in time, whether it be year, month, or data. Now, let's actually take a look at these two peaks from the main time series chart. So one during January 2018 and one during April 2020. So the one during January 2018 can be explained by the booming popularity of the game PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, otherwise known as PUBG. And this game actually fully released out of early access on December 20, 2017. And we can analyze this game individually by looking at the smaller time series charts to get a sense of the change in growth. So you can see around the time where I said it was released in the middle of December 2017, that really it had the highest number of players, both average concurrent and the peak number of players at that time. And that alone contributed to the total average concurrent players across every single Steam game. Uh, Now, the other peak is in April 2020, which is right around the time where most people were entering quarantine during the pandemic, and Steam themselves reported one of the highest number of players globally, or new accounts that were created during this time period. Uh, Now, an interesting observation is the growth in this game called Counter-Strike Global Offensive, also known as CS:GO, from January 2018, sorry, to November 2019. And actually, this game became free to play during December 2018, which made it more accessible to people. So you can see that around the time where it became free to play, it started to finally reach past the 400,000 player threshold. And it wasn't until November 2019 where they had another update that brought a lot of new content and a new model that rewards players for consistently playing the game. That actually let the game slowly increase past 500,000 to 600,000. And at the peak of the pandemic, uh, or at least the first wave, have almost 800,000 users at this point in time. So it's really interesting to see this these moments in time where where there's a lot more average concurrent players than normal. Now let's take a look at PUBG again. So this game actually has remained a paid model since its inception, which locks access to many players that only play free-to-play games. Not to mention that there are many other similar games to it that are free to play, such as Fortnite, which brings away competition. So we can see that it's been experiencing a steady decline since its initial peak in 2018. Right, it hasn't been increasing since. It's just been decreasing. At least the average concurrent players, mostly decreasing. And I mean, there was a short moment in time during the pandemic where you can see that there's a little peak here, but that quickly dissipated back to its normal, hovering around its normal player base. Now let's take a look at our parallel coordinates plot. So let's actually select, let's actually view every game that has a median play time over 5,000 hours. So when I'm hovering over here. And let's also see the categories here that are, in this case, 0 represents a single player game, 1 represents a multiplayer game. So a game is single player if it has no multiplayer component at all. Now let's take, and we can see here that there are only very few single player games that have a median playtime over 5,000 hours. And the majority of it belongs to under 5,000 hours, as we can see here. But what's interesting is that if we take a look at the rating, so note that the rating is on a scale from 0 to 100, or in this case, 0.5 represents 50%, 0.9 is 90%, and so forth. We can actually see that if we look at every rating above, let's say 0.7, and any games that have like above 5,000 playtime, all the ratings are pretty good. They're all above 0.7, which suggests that these player games, they have low amounts of users. As you can see, the ownership is very low as well right here. Even though they have almost very few amount of users, we can sort of interpret that these games have very few dedicated players that skew this data. Otherwise, this one makes sense. Have so little users, but such a high median amount of playtime. Now, we can see that if we look at our multiplayer games, instead, we can see that the median playtime is very much different. There are a lot more games that have above 5,000 hours of median playtime for multiplayer games. So single player games tend to not be played as frequently, unless you're one of those few dedicated players I just mentioned. All right, now let's see. Let's take a look at the ownership above 20 million. Right? You can see that all of the games that have above 20 million users, right, belongs to those multiplayer games. No game that has above 20 million owners is a single player game. So this kind of reinforces the concept that my hypothesis that multiplayer games are almost always more popular, more frequently played, and more owned, more sought after than single player games, likely due to the nature of the game itself. Being able to play with friends, being able to play with other people is probably a very important aspect to many people. And also interesting to note as that these games actually are mostly have a cost of 0, so they're all free. They're all free to play. So we can say also, you can also say that almost all the games with about 20 million users are free to play, but 1, which brings into the other notion that free to play games are also highly sought after. And if we look at one of our earlier time periods, we can actually see this sort of being the main trend since historically we see action of free to play the free to play category is the second most popular genre here, and same with here. Has the highest percentage besides other. And same here, multiplayer. Almost always takes up the majority of the average concurrent players. And with that brings a conclusion to my demonstration on my dashboard. Thank you for watching.